you can call me Cliff. So, today, I have, trick-or-treating in one command. Yeah, it's Halloween themed, so scary, right? Not really. It's trick-or-treating, it's not really supposed to be scary. You can remove the machine by clicking this, but, I mean, because it has 4, scoreboard objectives in it, that doesn't actually remove all of them. It can only remove 3 of the scoreboard objectives, so CSTM CNDY is still exists as a dummy scoreboard after you remove it. Whatever. You click this to go to my YouTube channel, where you can subscribe and like and comment and do all that stuff, and suggest why I'm gonna do in the future. But speaking of which, this was a suggestion, and I will put the suggestion on screen, like, nowish. So, yeah, that person who is on screen now is the person who suggested this, and if you click on it, then you can probably get to his channel. And he suggested I do something Halloween related, so I'm doing something Halloween related. He also then later suggested I do a Halloween boss, but I don't think I could create a boss in a week. So, I created this instead. And actually, this version of the machine is probably laggier than the schematic version I have over here. So I'm going to use the schematic version instead. So what the schematic version does is, if you... Okay, so you find your witches in the world. You can cure them the same way you cure zombie villagers. Affect them with weakness, and then give them, well, in this case, enchanted golden apples instead of normal golden apples. Then you throw it instead of... you remove the scoreboard objectives when I removed that. And you throw at them instead of, right-clicking on them. And it will give you cleric villagers that will trade you materials for the costumes. And as you can see, there are 3 costumes. There's the skeleton costume, the zombie costume, and the creeper costume. Each time you cure one, you will have a chance of getting one of the shirts, or one of the pants, or one of the boots. So there are 9 possibilities. To get the skulls, you kill those enemies with charged creepers the same way you normally would. Now, when you put on one of these costumes, it doesn't matter which one. As you can see, I got candy, and that's because villagers will give you candy when you get close to them. They will only give candy every 30 seconds, and they won't give candy if they're more than 5 blocks away from you, or if you're not wearing the full costume. So I can spawn all these villagers here, walk away, put on this costume, walk up, and get my candy. Oh, and the babies do not give you candy, because Only adult villagers will hand out candy on Halloween, or any time. They'll just hand it out any time. It can't check that it's actually Halloween when you're running this command. But now the candy will do some very nice things when you eat it while wearing the costumes. So let's say you have a bunch of creepers here, and you are in survival mode, and they're all attacking you. As you can see, it kills them with arrows if you're wearing the skeleton one. And it kills all of the arrows afterwards, so it's not too laggy. Now, it'll kill all entities with arrows except for arrows and players. Which means that if I eat this now, it'll start attacking those XP orbs. But, yeah, just pick up the XP orbs. It's not that big of a deal. Now, if you're wearing the zombie costume... Oh, by the way, the skeleton costume affects entities within a 15-block radius of you. If you're wearing the zombie costume, it's only entities outside, or it's entities within a 30-block radius of you, so, and they get slowed and weakened and poisoned, and so I can actually, like, punch all these guys to death. That was probably important. So the zombie one doesn't actually kill them like the other ones, but it affects the biggest radius. And then, the creeper one, you probably don't want to use nearby your valuable stuff. Because, well, you know what creepers do. As we can see, because we're using creepers in this demo. So, when you have the creeper one only affects enemies that are more than 15 blocks away from you. And it does not affect items or players. None of them affect players. The creeper one does not affect items. The arrow one does not affect arrows. And the zombie one actually just doesn't affect players. So this one will not affect entities within 15 blocks of you, or entities more than 30 blocks away from you. And it obviously summons TNT at them. So now I can show you how this works. So we're using 4 scoreboard objectives. Costume type, which is a dummy. Costume time, which is a dummy. costume power, which is the stat.useitem.minecraft.goldenapple, and costume candy, which is a dummy. So, we're adding O, which is a costume times score of 1, then setting it back to 0 if it's 9, which means that the costume times score of witches goes from 0 to 8 constantly. Then, we are, if a witch has a costume power score of at least 1, we are removing 1. And we are setting their costume power score to 36,000 if they have a weakness effect of 30 with a duration of 36,000, and then we're also doing that for a number of different other values for the duration, so that it'll pretty accurately detect it when they get the effect. But I mean, it's not 100% accurate, but just throw it on, wait like at most 10 seconds, and then feed them the golden apple. If you use the strength 2 weakness potion that I'm using, you shouldn't have to wait at all if you directly hit them. If you use the strength 1 one, then if you use weakness level 1, then you may have to wait like 7 seconds. If you directly hit them, and if you don't directly hit them, you may have to wait up to 10 seconds. Actually, the weakness 1, you probably only have to wait like up to 5 seconds. Anyway, it does that for a bunch of these, and then it executes at any witch with a costume power score of at least 1 to set all items within a radius of 0, choosing only one item to set it as a costume candy score of 1. If it is a Minecraft golden apple with a damage of 1, so an enchanted golden apple. Then it executes at an item with a costume candy score of at least 1 to execute at all witches with a costume power score of 1 within a radius of 1, choosing only 1, with a score of costume time min equals 0 and a score of costume time equals 0 to summon a villager with the data tag of the villager, and it does the same for costume time scores of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 with different tags for the villager so that they have different trades. And then it executes at the item that has a costume candy score of at least 1 to teleport the villager or witch. Sorry, it teleports the witch with a costume power score of at least 1 within a radius of 0, choosing only 1, to negative 100. And then kills the item with the costume candy score of 1. Then it sets all players' costume type score to 0, then to 1 if they have the correct data tag that they're wearing all the skeleton stuff, 2 if they have the correct data tag that they're wearing all the zombie stuff, 3 if they have the correct data tag that they're wearing all the creeper stuff. Then it does a scoreboard players add on all villagers a costume time of 0 if they are an adult, which is why the kids don't work, because they're literally not even tracked by the scoreboard. Then if they have a costume time of 0, then it executes at the nearest player within a 5-block radius with a score of costume type of at least 1 to summon an item that is a golden apple with lore of sweet and a name of candy. And the item entity itself also has a custom name of candy and a pick of delay of 2 seconds. Then it executes at the item named candy. This is why we had to have the custom name so it can execute at the correct item. To execute at the nearest player within 1 block with a costume type score of at least 1 to set all village to set the one villager within a 6-block radius with a costume time score of 0 to a costume time score of 600, and then all villagers with a costume time score of at least 1, it removes 1 from their costume time score, so it counts down. Then all players that have a costume candy score of at least 1, it removes 1, and it sets their costume candy score to 2 if they are selecting their slot 0 and have something with a lore of sweet in their slot 0, and then the same thing for slot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Those being the 0 through 8 being the 9 slots on your hotbar. So it detects that you're holding the candy in any slot on your hotbar and sets your score in costume candy to 2, and then the next tick removes 1 and then sets it back to 2 if you're still holding it. And if you're not, then the next tick sets it down to 0. Then it executes at all players with a costume candy score of at least 1, which means they were holding a candy within the last tick, and a costume power score of at least 1, which means since costume power is a stat.golden apple scoreboard, it detects that you've eaten said candy. The costume candy score makes sure that it's the correct candy and not just any golden apple. And then costume type min equals 1 is you're wearing the skeleton stuff costume while you're eating it. Score costume type equals 1 to make sure that it's only that skeleton. And then scoreboard players set all entities that are not arrows within a 15-block radius to costume type of 1. Then if it does the same execute command if you're only costume type of 2, and then sets all entities within a radius of 30 blocks to a costume type of 2. And then the same execute with costume type of 3 to set the score of all of a random 10 players, because of the C equals 10, that are not items, a random 10 entities that are not items. Actually, I lied. At least 10 blocks away within a radius of 30 blocks to a costume type of 3. So not 15, like I said. So this is not 15, it's 10 actually. And then it sets the costume power score of all players back to 0. So after you've eaten candy, it doesn't just say that you've always it doesn't just always detect that you've eaten candy, it's just only right after you've eaten a piece of candy that this activates. Then it executes at all not player entities with a costume type score of 1, 2.5 blocks above them to summon an arrow with a custom name of Sky Arrow. Then it kills all arrows named Sky Arrow with a score costume time of at least 4, and adds all arrows named Sky Arrow a score of costume time 1 if they're in the ground. So they disappear 5 ticks after hitting the ground. 1, it checks that, and then this adds 1, then after 2, it's 2, after 3, it's 3, after the 4th time, it's 4, and then it runs back, and this activates on the 5th time, on the 5th tick after they've hit the ground. Then this this affects all non-player entities with a costume type score of 2, with slowness 3. It says 2 here, but that's because it starts at 0 in the commands and it starts at 1 in Minecraft. So 2 here is actually a slowness of 3 for 90 seconds. Then this does the same thing with weakness 3 for 90 seconds. And this does poison 11 for 90 seconds. And then it does scoreboard players set all entities that are not a player with a costume type score of 2 to a costume type score of 0. So they're not constantly being set with the poison. It's only right after I eat the thing, they get hit with the poison and the weakness and the slowness, and then it just takes 90 seconds for that to wear off. They don't constantly have the effects. And then this last one executes at all entities that are not players with a score of costume type of 3 to summon Prime TNT. And that's about it. Thanks for watching. And until next time, have a happy Halloween.